What's up, everybody? It's your host, the American Viking, and welcome to the next episode in our The American Viking Studios podcast series. Today, keeping with the theme of last week in the History of Your Host special, we'll call it, I wanted to talk to you guys today about the why. You might be asking yourself, as I often have, why did I choose to do this full time? How did I get there? What things convinced me to do this? Now, I know I briefly touched on this, I believe, in the last episode. The idea that there had been a significant rough period leading up to this, and the idea that if I was going to fail, I might as well fail at something I wanted to do kind of got me here. Now, that is true. There is a lot more that went on beyond just that. Okay. So I wanted to give you guys the why, the overarching explanation into why I sit in front of a camera and talk to you guys almost twice a day for some of you, and what possessed me to even do this to begin with. So sit down, strap in, because here we go. There are a couple of different things that led me here. Obviously, the surrounding environment that I touched on in the last episode. I don't really want to repeat that whole story because it took me about 30 minutes, I think, to get through that chronology to get here. So I probably won't go over that again. So check out my previous podcast if you want to hear that information. But I have played, video games for quite some time. I actually got into them because of my younger brother. And this is a fun story, so I'll share it with you guys. My younger brother and I, we are 6 years apart, which is a large-ish gap in terms of age difference, especially growing up together. So while I was 12, he was 6. When I was 16, he was 12. That's math's not right. When I was 18, he was 12. There we go. So as you can see, in terms of where we are in our life journey, there wasn't a lot of connection between him and I when we were growing up just because of that age gap. Well, when I got to be a little bit older, I think probably in my mid-ish 20s, he was off in college. And I didn't get to see him all that often because he was gone for 9 months out of the year. But I knew that he had an Xbox and played video games with a bunch of his friends on the evenings and weekends and things like that. So I thought to myself, I think I asked him, because I literally had very little knowledge of the video game sphere, which is hilarious given what I do now. I asked him, is there an opportunity for us to play together? He was like, yeah. So I went out and bought an Xbox so that I could play with him. And one of the games that, at the time, his friends and his friends played was Apex Legends, which, if you've watched any of my content, you know I play, and I sometimes play the competitive structure there. My brother was my first introduction to that video game. Now, I had never played first-person shooter games before in my life. I think I may have played Call of Duty once at a friend's house or something of that nature, and was just, of course, absolutely garbage at the game because I'd never picked up a controller like that before. To give you a little bit of insight, I didn't have really any video game experience until I was close to 18 years old, and my family bought a Wii as our first game system. No PS1, no PS2, no Xbox, nothing like that. A Wii was my first video game experience, and you guys are familiar with that. It's not anything like the controllers you use for PlayStation or Xbox or anything like that. So I was the trash player on their team. My brother and his friend would play, and I would just essentially be the, how do you call it? The last pick on your team. I guess we'll take him, right? So, it was the running through the middle of the street, getting shot, having no idea what I was doing. Just absolute dog water at the game. Like, no, nothing. Well, I felt bad for my brother that he was having to play with me and me just not contributing to the game or his play or fun at all. So I started playing that game a lot so that I could try and close that gap of skill level between my brother and I. And I have a very competitive personality. If I choose to do something, I want to do it well. I want to be able to do it well. So I will sit there and practice and practice and practice. If it's something I want to do, if it's something I have zero interest in and you tell me I have to do it, I won't put the same effort in. But if it is something I take an interest in and want to do, I will sit there and go and learn. I watched YouTube videos on movement mechanics and all kinds of different things. Now, I will say this, I'm a controller player, so I am not, if you're familiar with Apex, I'm not a tap strafing, wall bouncing. I'm not doing any of that. I do as best that I can with the skills that I was given. So it got to the point where I was able to play at their skill level, which made for some really fun games. Then it got to the point where I continued to play and continued to play and continued to play. My brother phased out of the game. He went on to play, not Skyrim. I'm not sure. One of these, a Skyrim-esque game. I can't remember what it's called, but it's that same type of video game. And Borderlands and things like that. Other games that he enjoyed playing. I want to play this game, and I'm going to play this game until I am done playing it forever. So I kept playing Apex and kept grinding to the point where my skill level continued to increase, where my brothers and his kind of friends that we were playing with skill hadn't. They were having to try to play at my level. So it didn't, and that's kind of where they started phasing out of the game, because we would all play together, but then it didn't get fun for them because they weren't putting the time in to be as competitive as I was at the game at that point. Now, I do not want you guys to get the wrong impression and think that I am somehow a top 500 player. That is not the case. They're just very much casual players, very casual players, where I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not at all a pro player, and I'm not at all a casual player. I'm kind of stuck right there in the middle ground of, like, I'm good enough but not good enough at the same time. So, that being said, again, I pick a game and I tend to stick with it. So I kept playing Apex to the point where I got into their rank structure and started playing with other people and things of that nature. And around probably a year after all that, I met my partner. And I had, in the interim, I had built a computer, the one I'm actually doing all of this work on. So I'd made the move from Xbox to PC. So I built a computer. I had the dual monitor set up. This mic actually runs through a mixer over here, because this is a XLR mic that then runs through an XLR mixer that sends the digital signal back to my computer. That way I can mess with my voice and all that other stuff before it ever comes into as a digital sound format. So I had all of this stuff set up, but I'd never streamed or anything like that. I just enjoyed the aesthetic of it. I liked how I'd set it all up and all that. So 2 things happen quite frequently. One, my partner will tell me consistently, you should stream, you should stream, you should stream, you should stream. She has said that since we have been together. Now, I don't think I have it in me to be a streamer. I think I've said that before. I'm not sure. But I honestly don't. I sit down for about 4 hours a day right now and play video games. And that's just so that I can do 2 game content videos a week. Just 2, okay? And if you guys are watching, you know it's the ranked games are what I'm kind of trying to focus on. So I'm sitting in front of my computer playing Apex Legends, essentially, for 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And it is not easy at all. And I don't think I have it in me to sit in front of my computer and stream for 8 to 12 hours a day like some of these streamers do Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday. I don't think I have that willpower. So I enjoy playing video games, but I needed it to be a shorter time frame. So then the idea kind of started trickling in about, okay, well, you could do YouTube videos. If you cut them down to 15 or 20 minutes, you can take a lot of gameplay that has good parts in it and make a nice little compilation out of it. Or when you finally have a good game, the once in a blue moon that happens, you can take that and post it. So that idea started trickling in. The other thing that pretty consistently happens is if you play video games, especially on PC, you're probably familiar with a platform called Discord. Discord has the ability for you to jump into a Discord server, and then look for people to play with on certain games, whether that's Call of Duty, Apex Legends, whatever. So I frequently would get into these Discord channels and look for people to play with in the Apex Legends rank structure, because it is significantly easier to play with a team than to try to solo queue it and just beat your head against a wall trying to grind that rank structure. And one of the comments I consistently get is, "Oh my goodness, man, you have a great mic and a great voice," and all the time. It got to the point where when I would introduce myself and tell people what my gamer tag were and things like that, that I would just kind of expect that conversation to happen. And I had a joke ready. They'd be like, "Man, you sound like you've done radio before." I was like, "Well, yeah, they've always told me I have a face for radio." You know, some cheesy joke or something like that to get the ball rolling. So with those two things, and having always wanted to be an entertainer, and I'm pretty sure that anybody in my life that has known me since I was younger will attest to the fact that I've been an entertainer since, I don't even know how young. And all of those things, along with the kind of chronological life journey that I was on this past year, it all kind of made this perfect storm of I didn't really have a reason why not to do it other than it's just a scary thing to try to bite off. And so when I sat down and had the conversation with my partner about, hey, I'm actually thinking about doing this, she lit up like it was Christmas morning. I kid you not. The smile on her face was infectious. And I've never felt so much support out of another living being. I don't think ever. And so we started to line out what my day would look like and stuff like this so that we could... I'm a very regimented, scheduled person. Maybe I'll do a day in the life video one time and you guys can see just exactly how one thing, next thing I tend to be. But, excuse me. But when I finally told her that I was sincerely contemplating making the decision of doing content full time, she lost it. Wouldn't let me say no. So then I went and had the conversation with some of my family members because I try to be an honest person. I didn't want to put anybody in an awkward situation where, oh, what does Eric do for a living? Oh, well, he, I didn't want that. So I went and had a conversation with them and told them that I was going to make my best effort at this. So that's kind of the why. I've been an entertainer for a lot of my life. I enjoy being positive, trying to bring a smile and laughs to people as much as I can. I've been told for the past, probably 5 to 10 years of my life, that I have a voice that people enjoy listening to. That's what I've been told. You guys can leave it in the comments if you'd like and say, no, you definitely don't have a voice. You sound like a redneck hillbilly, definitely from down deep south. Or whatever your opinions might be. But again, I figured if there was going to be a time to do this, it's right now. It's when I'm doing it. Because Well, I mean, and to be honest, in my mind, I'm running out of time. I'm not super young. I'm not super old either, but I'm not super young. And stuff like this, it's a little bit of a young man's game, in my opinion. There's a lot of work that goes into this. As anybody in content creator or established content creator can tell you, it is not an easy thing to just crank out content over and over. I'm fortunate in that I have thought about things like this for a long time and had a little bit of a formulated plan going into it before I ever started. I'd actually done, if you guys watch my series, Breakfast with the Viking, I started that on TikTok way back in the day until I figured out how non-profitable TikTok is for creators. I got, well, and there were some other things too, but I didn't want to go back to TikTok. That's the conversation there. In terms of trying to post content that would eventually turn into a monetary supplement for me. And so when I revived Breakfast with the Viking on YouTube, I already kind of knew what I was doing. Now, TikTok was a significantly shorter, well, I guess not. I think at one point they allowed like 3-minute videos or something like that. I can't quite remember, but it was a shorter, much more condensed content style. Here, I try to keep my Breakfast with the Viking videos underneath 5 minutes as much as I can, because it's just designed to be a little snippet. You can, watch it while you're eating your breakfast burrito and then go about your day, right? But that is a very, all things considered, that is a very easy content structure to do, because I get to sit here in the morning, have my breakfast in my hot beverage, and kind of formulate what idea I want to talk about that day, whether it's, well, what this morning's was, which is persistence or strength or taking small joys in your life or whatever it is. And then I literally just type in quotes about whatever word popped into my head, scroll through that, find a good quote that strikes a chord with me, and then I sit there and I only have to be creative with my words for 5 minutes. That's a really simple content structure to do, and yet it does take time and effort, right? That 5-minute snippet. Now, and keep in mind, I don't have an intro that I have to edit in or anything of that nature. I don't have an outro that I have to edit in. I'm also not doing these super elaborate thumbnails that some of these content creators are doing right now, because I'm very, very new to this. So, all in all, my level of effort into this is relatively low given what other people are doing. And it's still, that 5 minutes probably takes 30 to 45 to actually get done from beginning to end. Because I have to do the research on whatever, I have to sit down here and try to figure out creatively, okay, what do I want to talk about this morning? What's important to me today that I want to push out in a positive message to the viewers, right? And that can take a minute. It can take 5-10 minutes where I'm sitting here like, no, I've done that one. I don't really feel like it. You're just mulling things over, and then all of a sudden, it hits you, right? But then when that idea hits you, I want to have a quote. One of the fundamentals about what I do with Breakfast with the Viking is I have a quote of the day, right? I start the same way every morning. Welcome back to another edition of Breakfast with the Viking. Today's quote, right? That's how the whole thing starts. So then I have to go find the quote. And that can sometimes take another 10-15 minutes, because there's a lot of good quotes out there, but some of them just have a really negative reaction to me with how they're phrased, how they're enveloped, and how it can appear to people just in the way the quote is phrased. And sometimes I still pick them and show you guys how it's phrased to me and how I think it should be interpreted a little bit differently. Then I have to set up the camera, hit record, do my thing, stop the recording, watch it back to make sure I didn't mess anything up too terribly. Then I got to go search through and find a good thumbnail for that video. Then it's all done. Then I can move on to my next thing. So again, for a 5-minute snippet of what you guys see, there is 30 to 45 minutes of work that went into that. And as the channel grows and as I grow, I'm sure it's going to turn into like an hour or more, because I would love to have an intro for you guys for Breakfast with the Vikings. Something that's just like 5 to 10 seconds long that doesn't take a lot of time, but it'd be great to have just a little start to the video. Actually, a friend of mine had an idea. He goes, well, if you call it Breakfast with the Viking, you should just time-lapse yourself eating breakfast as the beginning and like walking in and sitting down at your camera, and then you can start the video. And I was like, that's pretty funny. So maybe that's going to come in the future. But again, that's a bunch of recording and editing and all that other stuff. And if I do it that way, I might have to do a different breakfast recording every morning, which, anyway, you guys can see just how little things turn into these large responsibilities as you turn into content. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. I wish it was as easy as me just sitting down in front of this camera and talking to you guys, and you guys are loving it and wanting to be involved. And maybe I get one video where this channel just takes off and all of a sudden I'm rocking and rolling. Let's hope, right? But again, I had it easier because I had some pre-formulated ideas. I also have a really broad spectrum of content that I post on this channel, which does make it a little bit easier, I think. I do 4 different types of videos over the course of 5 days. So if you guys have watched the channel for any length of time, you know Monday is game clips, Tuesday is Pokemon, Wednesday is podcast, Thursday is game clips, Friday is the gym vlog. What that does is that means I don't have to come up with a new idea or a new video in the same content vein every day. I have the opportunity to diversify a little bit and keep the creativity flowing a little bit more, for me anyway. If I was just doing 5 video game related episodes a week, I would have to sit at this computer and play video games for 8 to 12 hours a day in order to have gameplay that I could post. And that's probably just because I'm really crap at video games. I don't know why I chose that as a hobby, but that's neither here nor there at this point. But again, I have the opportunity to diversify a little bit. I get to sit down and just talk to you guys about me, my life, my history, or something that just interests me that I really want to share with you guys. So, again, I think I have it easier than a lot of content creators out there because some of them are doing the exact same content vein. It's not the same video or anything of that nature, but the very same vein of content 5 days a week. And that has to be grueling. Again, I love the idea of thinking about next week. What am I going to do for Pokemon, right? Like that's fun to me because I don't have to sit here and go, okay, well, I need to play this video game for 6 to 8 hours so I can have enough footage to post a video for next week. That's, excuse me, that's just not necessarily my style of things. So, anyway, all that to say, the why was because I have thought about this for so long. Clearly, with the fact that my YouTube channel started with 2 videos a day, Breakfast with the Viking, and then whatever the afternoon video is, depending on the schedule. Clearly, excuse me, let me just get a sip of my, again, hot beverage here. It's good stuff, man, I tell you. Clearly, I had put some thought into this before having ever started, or I wouldn't have had any idea where I was going with this. So, I just think if I'm going to fail, let me fail at this. Let me put my best effort into doing what I think I would love to do, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. I really do. I hope that this starts reaching people and that you guys start to push it around your little social spheres. I would love the opportunity for this podcast to turn into something where I get to have conversations with other people. I know there's a ton of podcasts out there, and all of them have something different and interesting to offer you in terms of a listener or a watcher. So I just hope that I'm enough for you guys for now, that we begin to grow and start to get somewhere and turn this into something that can grow and really become something that reaches more people and brings a little bit of joy and entertainment to a broader scope of people. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up there today. I think it's been a pretty good episode today of just generally the why, the what got me sitting in front of a camera talking to you guys, or what got me posting game clips. So we'll see what next episode is. Maybe we'll start going over individually the video styles that I do and why I chose those specific things to cover in videos. So yeah, I think that's it for me today. So again, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you tuning in for I believe this is the 3rd episode of the TAVS podcast. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. The ones that are watching, especially this early, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the views on the videos. Like, comment, subscribe, and please share with your friends. The more people that watch these videos, just in terms of right now, means the quality of these videos get to increase over time. Little things, little quality life adjustments will go a long way this early on. So like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you guys next time.